Hello there, and thanks for joining us. We're so glad because in this lesson we will be creating a whale shark using H2O water mixable oil paints to capture this beautiful, majestic creature. It's actually easier to do than the finished painting looks. And if you haven't used H2O oil paint before, you will love them. The characteristics of oil paints without the need for solvents. So let's get into it. For this project, we are using a 150 by 60 centimetre canvas, which seems to suit the subject as whale sharks are pretty large. Of course, we'll need the H2O water mixable oil paints, and this is the 36-piece set, and it has all of the colours needed for this project, as well as lots of colours for future paintings for you to create. We'll also be using some acrylic paint to initially tint the canvas. Acrylic is a great way to seal canvas and also provides a very good base layer to lay oil paints over. The colour will be a deep green tone mixed from phthalo blue, viridian and medium green. These are from the Satin series range. So we mix these colours to 2 parts phthalo blue, 2 parts viridian and 1 part medium green, and lay this in a consistent coat over the canvas. I'm using an abstract expression brush to do this. Although we will be painting over this, the base coat will be subtly seen under the top coat, adding some complexity to the tone. Stay tuned and don't miss a video from us. Subscribe and leave a comment below with what you'd like us to create next. We'd love to hear from you. Once the tint is bone dry, we print out the reference sheet here from the Montmartre website, and using a white pastel carefully draw in the profile of the whale shark. Pastel is really good to draw up an image onto canvas, as if you make a mistake, it's super easy to remove, and it also melds with the paint and just disappears. The next step is to create the undersurface of the water and the top coat around the whale shark. So we squeeze out some phthalo blue, cerulean blue, sap green, black and some titanium white. Create a mix of phthalo blue, sap green and cerulean blue and use this colour to cut in around the whale shark. If the paint is a little thick, add some water. This will help the paint flow more smoothly. To create a sense of depth, some black is blended into the bottom of the canvas. A little trick to make the whale shark stand out and almost glow is to lay a lighter blue around the edge and blend it into the background. At the top of the painting, we see how the light is diffused in an interesting way, where the light is broken into areas of undulating light. I created a rough version of the effect in Photoshop and I liked how it came out. So I recreate it by creating crescent-shaped strokes over the blue coat with a series of darker blues and lighter blues mixed down with white. Have you created one of our projects? Make sure you send us a photo. We love seeing your creations. Pure titanium white can then be added in spots to suggest highlights. Another phenomenon of light diffused beneath the water is that the light is seen in beams or rays. To suggest this, drag the colour down in lines over the blue coat. We have to carry these lines into our whale shark's nose, but that's okay because we'll be painting the shark in a later step. Although these huge sea creatures are called whale sharks, they are not actually whales, of course, but filter feeding sharks. They are also the world's largest fish, usually growing to 12 metres in length, although a fully grown whale shark can reach an incredible 20 metres long and weigh 20 tonnes. Once the rays of light are in, we add some pure titanium white between the underside of the water and the beams of light to suggest a sunlight hot spot. Next, we can paint in the underpainting of the whale shark, and here we are basically just tonally rendering her. This can be done with differing strengths of phthalo blue and sap green mixes. A darker mix is laid onto the top of the head and down the right side of the body. We then have to let the coat dry, and this should take about 5 days. When dry, we can add the markings onto our friend. The first step, however, is to scumble a little highlight onto our friend's nose. Scumble is a funny art word that just means to lightly charge the brush and gently drag the colour over the surface, this way creating a subtle tone. So we charge our brush with a little titanium white, wipe off the excess onto a paper towel, and then scumble it onto the tip of our whale shark's muzzle. Whale sharks can be found in warm, temperate seas around the world, except the Mediterranean Sea. They migrate thousands of miles to get to different feeding grounds, but only at the slow swimming speed of 3 miles per hour. Now we can apply the markings onto our friend. Interestingly, every whale shark markings are unique, like our fingerprints are, and they are also quite complex, so we are going to simplify them a little bit. We can start with the head and lay a heap of small dots. I found it best to do this by dipping the end of a paintbrush into paint and transferring it like that. As we work down the whale shark, we can add larger dots from a bigger brush. From my research, I noticed that roughly halfway down the head, the spots form into lines of dots. The larger dots have smaller dots in line between them. At this stage, we just work down the body following this process. Although the marking stage is quite laborious, it's also mindful and relaxing. Once we get about 3/4 of the way down the body, the patterning changes a little bit as the lines of dots are slightly farther apart and curve to follow the form of the body and tail. The end of the tail just has a number of vertical dots moving down it. And voila! Well, thanks for watching. We really hope that you feel like giving this project a go. It's not particularly difficult, and whale sharks are just such special creatures. If you like this project, we've got loads more on our website. Jump online to check out our Create blog and sign up with Creative Connection to get lesson, inspo, tips and more sent directly to your inbox. Staying inspired doesn't have to cost a cent.